welcome to the 10th episode of the S Word podcast. I'm Lizzie.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Hattie. And today, for our 10th episode, we've got a special guest joining us, Tiffany, also known as GynaeGirl on Instagram. So welcome to the podcast.
Woo!
Thank you. Oh.
Unfortunately, Beth couldn't join us today, but she's here in spirit and I know she'll be listening. So hi, Beth.
Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and like what you do?
Okay.
And we can get into the questions after that.
So, yeah, like Hattie said, my name's Tiffany. I run the Instagram account GynaeGirl. So in terms of uni, I studied physio. I graduated 2 years ago, so I'm still quite new to it all. And you know, when you're at uni and you're sat in lectures and you've got all those people like answering questions, and I was kind of sat there and everyone seemed to love it, and I was always kind of like, nothing's really like super appealing to me, and there's nothing that, like, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it like everyone else did. And then we did women's health, which is all to do with kind of year down below, and that was when I started to get a little bit more interested, and then I had a placement in it and I loved that. And then ever since I've qualified, I've kind of got two jobs. So I work in women's health and men's health, and then I also work for the NHS in a hospital too. And yeah, loved it ever since, really. And yeah, I like it.
Oh, that's good.
I guess because we're all girls and you can kind of relate a lot for what people are going through, and you feel like you're really making a big difference, because I don't know about you, but I feel like people don't talk about stuff like this a lot. And I know, like, your whole podcast is about kind of taboo subjects.
Mm-hmm.
People don't mention it, especially like young people as well. Nobody ever talks about their pelvic floor or whatever. So yeah,
that's cool.
That's why I've got into it.
What does your role actually involve?
So basically, I do two types of things. We get private referrals and then NHS referrals. So the NHS ones come from like doctors, consultants. So I treat pretty much anything down below. So I'll do kind of incontinence, so urine leakage, pelvic pain, any kind of tears or issues post-baby, which we get quite a lot of, sexual pain. So I get quite a lot of young patients who are having sex and they're sexually active, but it's really uncomfortable. And they tend to come to us privately because they're too scared to kind of go to doctors or to mention it. So that's quite a nice one. I'm trying to think what else I do. They're the kind of main ones. And then with men's health, again, it's a lot of like urine leakage. When you get kind of the older men who have had kind of prostate cancers, once that's removed, they tend to have issues there. So I see a lot of them, erectile dysfunctions, and then again, a lot of pelvic pain. I think people don't realise, but we get so many men who get kind of like really chronic pelvic pain that it's so bad that they can't kind of sit on chairs and stuff like that. So we get, it's stuff a lot of people don't know about, but we get so many people through. I just don't think people talk about it.
A lot of men are scared to talk about that sort of stuff. I find men are a lot more closed than women anyway, like just in the grand scheme of things.
And it is nice having an expert who actually knows stuff compared to us just chatting shit every week but just trying to help.
Don't go that far.
I feel like you've only been talking for 3 minutes and I'm already learning so much. I'm just sat here like, oh my God,
So interesting.
Like, I feel like when I think about like the sex ed we had at school, they don't mention any of these kind of things. And if you don't realise it's an issue and you get it, you kind of think that you're the only one and you're alone with it, and then it's kind of a horrible place to be, really. So
that's literally my first question on my little notepad, because I was looking down your Instagram, and I told the girls, I was like, I've learnt more in 10 minutes of looking down your Instagram than I ever have in my life. Because I was like, I didn't know any of this stuff. And I was going to ask your opinion about, I mean, you just sort of said it, about sex ed in schools, and like, there's so much we're not taught. So
no.
What do you think we should be taught?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm 24, so my sex ed was a little while ago, but it was just, so I went to an all-girls school, so you'd kind of think, at least like periods, all those kind of main things were spoken about in depth, because you've not got boys messing about in the corner. And but it was, me and like my girl group talk about it a lot. It was just shocking. We had kind of, did you ever used to have PSHE lessons?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a half an hour thing, and we had like a little video you'd watch, that'd be it, any questions. And obviously you're in a big group of girls and you're kind of like 10, 11 years old, you don't really want to put your hand up. It was just awful. We didn't really talk about kind of any kind of things like female pleasure. We didn't talk about kind of losing your virginity. Periods, they used to show you like a sanitary towel with kind of blue liquid on. They're not using like things like blood, so when you come to it you're like, oh, what's going on? And like do you know, some people have great relationships with family members or someone older they could talk to. But you wonder, like, for girls who've got no one to talk to, all you're learning is from school. It's quite, it's shocking. So I think a lot more needs to be done, really.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you guys?
I do think as well, especially when you're learning at an age that young, sometimes I feel like you are too young to understand. Like, when I'm all for, like, kids learning about the basics of sex education, because when I did it when I was in, like, year 6, you do, like, the basics, but then it never gets transferred when you're older and taken further. So you just kind of got to learn it all on yourself, or, like you say, through your family if you can. I'm like lucky enough to kind of be really close with my mum, so although I remember when I first started my period, I was sat on the toilet and I was like, I literally screamed. I was like, Mom, come to the toilet right now. And she was like, Lizzie, don't worry. I was literally sat with the door like wide open. I was like, oh my God. But I don't think when you're in school it's spoken about enough, and especially I remember loads of lads in my year at school just take the piss out of you. They'd be like, oh, you're on your period, me. Like, it's just, God, it's just awful.
No, I was going to say, one of my friends, she won't mind me saying this, but she said when she first started, her mum gave her a tampon and was like, there you go. And she went in the toilet and she couldn't get it in, and she was thinking, oh my God, I don't have a vagina, what do I do? And that's like the issues that like they don't go into detail, they don't show you. It's all very kind of, they brush over it and that's it.
I was just going to say, I can't even really remember my sex education at school, which I think says something in itself. Like, I don't even... All I can remember is being in primary school and they split us boy and girl.
Yeah.
And then all I can remember is them giving us out sanitary towels, and we all just like sticking them on the tables and stuff. And I can't remember ever being told how to use one, or how often you change them, anything like that, which is so bad. And then secondary school, I don't think, I can't remember sex education in secondary school. Maybe like a condom on a banana once, like that's it.
So bad. I think it's so bad how they separate us all. I think that's so bad in itself, because like men don't know anything about vaginas. We barely know anything about men's sex. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's important to know both sexes, like genitals and everything, and like know the ins and outs of them.
Yeah. Like, I could 100% say that my brother like doesn't know anything about anything to do with women, and he lives in a house with 3 of them. Like, it's so important for men. So like men list like on your Instagram or listening to this, I think it's really important for them too. Like, they shouldn't think, oh, this is about women's health, I won't look at it.
And I feel like they need to like show you and start teaching it like regularly, because it always used to be like this one-off thing and everyone would be giggling and it'll be kind of something like everyone like laughs about, when really if it was something that regularly happened, it would just be kind of normal and common for people to talk about it. And
I think in my experience, so I've got 2 older brothers who obviously we didn't talk about anything like it, but it was only, obviously I knew how everything worked, whatever, by the time I got to uni, but it was only when it really got to uni and had like a group of girlfriends, when you start talking about just everyday things that you don't think are actually, like, you realise, oh, that's normal, like everyone has them all the time, just you start realising that there's so much more you didn't really think about before. So it is really good to just talk about it and be open with stuff.
Even like discharge, like what I always used to be so self-conscious about what my vagina looked like, because I'd never seen, do you know what I mean? I was too scared like to ask anyone else, or like, I don't know, I just, because you see like porn and everything else, and my vagina looks so different to every other vagina that I've seen, so I always felt like uncomfortable. But the more I've grown up, like, and spoken to my friends about it, and like we talk really openly, like all of us, about stuff like this, it's really helped. But I think it is because the education system's a bit funny, like with sex education growing up, and that's why it takes a while before everyone's so comfortable. And
social media, like that, just both of those 2 things together just made it so much worse. And like what you said, Charlotte, I've literally got 1 bullet point on my little notepad and it just says designer vaginas on it. Because I was like, because I saw on your Instagram and you said like loads of girls under 18 have like had plastic surgery on their vagina, and that's just so sad, like to think that that's in their head, that it's not normal. And it's just stuff like that you don't think about.
Well, even things like in like pictures they show you in like kids' textbooks about sex ed, people don't have pubes, and it's just ridiculous because you think something like that's going on with your body, it's completely foreign, you don't know what's going on, and it makes you feel like there's something wrong. And then if you build up those kind of ideas and issues from a young age, it's so hard to get rid of them as you get older. So yeah, it's a real shame, really.
It's really sad, but it actually isn't surprising because like I can remember growing up, like when you're going through puberty and all those things, and like literally like Charlotte said, you think, what the hell, like I don't look like the pictures in the textbooks, or like I think imagine how much different it would be if like now if you go on your Instagram page or pages similar, there's pictures of like different vaginas looking in different ways. Imagine if they just showed that to us when we were like 12 years old. I'd be like, oh, sick, like you wouldn't even question it. But because we weren't ever shown that, it's actually only, I'd say in the last couple of years that I've seen things like that, and it's made me more comfortable with myself. Like
even like vaginal anatomy, people don't know the names of kind of like the labia, the clitoris, and I've always said if people don't know the names when they go to the doctor with issues, and quite often the doctor you get won't want to do like an internal examination, if you're calling things the wrong things, they're not going to know what's going on, you're not going to feel confident going to them. And I think there's quite a high rise in kind of gynecological cancers at the moment because people don't go to the doctors. And I think a lot of it is just we're not educated, and we're not educated on what's right, what's normal, what's not normal, what things are called, how things are working. And yeah, I think it all starts from when we're young and with sex ed.
It's the same as, it's like you would know if something's wrong with your eyes or if something's wrong in your ear, but because there's some problem talking about these things openly, people aren't aware of when things are going wrong in those areas. I didn't even think of it like that, like going to the doctors and not being able to describe properly what's wrong.
Yeah, I think it definitely, all the education for it needs to start when we're young, like it does, but then it can't just stop. It's got to carry on because obviously the younger you learn it from, I think children are a lot more open and a lot more accepting of what they're being told rather than having a already formed opinion on it. So I think it's so important to teach kids about it properly and continue it even up until when you're like in sixth form, because that's probably the time when people are becoming most sexually active at that time and probably having the most issues with body image, being self-conscious about their bodies. And I just find it really sad that we've not come as far as we should have, and we should be all like openly talking about things like this, but people are too worried to. And like you say, I can't believe people don't go to the doctors when they've got issues. Like that just baffles me.
I remember Charlotte, you saying you used to say a lot that like we've been taught to like be embarrassed and ashamed about it, like because it's not a normal thing to be embarrassed, but like you shouldn't be, but we've like sort of been taught that, which is just, when you think of it like that, it's mad.
Like my mum, I think, feels with periods and stuff, she's obviously fine. Like she was like really helpful. Like she had books, she had things that she was going to tell me and stuff. And I started my period when I was in year 5, when there was like no sex ed. So I was actually like, what is going on? But she was really accepting. But even stuff to do with like sex and female hygiene and pleasure, like we don't talk about that because she feels uncomfortable. But that's obviously because she's been brought up that way, and they've been told to keep everything private. But I think it makes people way more anxious if they're not talking about stuff like this.
I would definitely want to make sure that when I have children, especially if they're daughters, because I've got more knowledge of it, that I wouldn't want to be so open that it makes them uncomfortable, but I'd want to be like, I want to be able to like make them comfortable to talk about all these different things, because I think it's so important. And like my mum's the same. Like I think we can talk about things, but it's like she'd probably rather not, like, you know what I mean, like, because their parents would never talk about it to them. So we kind of, our generation, I think, can probably make like a change in like the way we speak about things with our children, and then they'll grow up and realise it's not weird to mention these things. Yeah,
sometimes I think with your mum there's a boundary between mums and parents. So but obviously then, like you say, with our generation, I feel like me and my friends and you lot, we're all comfortable to talk about this sort of thing, so I don't ever feel like I've got no one to talk to, which is nice, because then obviously there is some people that find it very uncomfortable. And don't get me wrong, like sometimes about sex I'm like, oh my god, like but like I wouldn't ever feel like I couldn't talk to my friends, which I think is nice about sort of people our age.
And also, just Yeah. Going against a point I made earlier, social media is also good for things like this. Like Tiffany, your Instagram is amazing. Charlotte, you do a lot of positivity stuff, and so like,
thank you.
You know, I mean, the same with everything, like body image. Like social media can be harming, but I think just now it's starting to get better, and people are like talking about everything normally. You know, what we've just talked about. So there are good, if you need like advice and stuff, there are social media platforms that are available that are really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's how I've like learnt more about, because obviously I was clueless because through school I can't really remember what I was taught about sex ed. So I think from talking to my friends and seeing things on Instagram pages and stuff, that's how I've like learnt more about different things, which is pretty crazy because that should be the education system's responsibility.
Well, especially like when they're going on about how many we've got, like increase in STIs, increase in like teen pregnancy. If they're really honestly like want to try and squash that, I think they need to start way earlier and get on it. And I think it's so stupid when like the government, I'm going to go off one, but like when the government is like, getting angry about these things and saying, we need to provide more contraception and stuff like that. But I think if we know our bodies better from a young age, we can kind of make detailed and educated decisions about it from a lot earlier on as well. And
with things like contraception too, I think it's so badly informed. Like if I went to the doctor and said like I want to go on the pill or something, they just give you it. Like they'll just give you the cheapest pill for them without really. I remember I literally went and like months ago, and I was just shocked because it was just so like. I knew all the stuff about the pill because I've been reading about it because I took it upon myself to do that, but some people won't, and they just said, oh, do you get migraines? No. Okay, you can have this pill. And then that made me think, fucking hell, what does that do if it links badly with migraines kind of thing? It makes you kind of wonder. But I think like stuff like that again, they need to.
When I was 13, I went to the doctors literally just for like, my mum took me because of period pains, like I was missing school and stuff, like everyone has it, and they just put me on the pill there and then. I was like 13, 14, and it was only in the recent years I literally would talk to you guys about it. Like I was like, this can't be good for me to be on it all that time. I don't really, do you know what I mean? It's just like they just gave it to me and I took it because I was like 14, didn't know anything, trusted a doctor, like, do you know what I mean? And I only recently thought about like, oh, maybe like, what is this actually doing? And the more research I did. So yeah, definitely like take it upon yourself to educate yourself, because it is so important if you're not getting the education you need from family or school.
Do you think the pill's an interesting one? Contraception is a massive topic, but you know, like most younger children, or not children, but younger girls would just be like, yeah, I'll just go on the pill, like that's it, like. But I think I started the pill. I went on the pill when I was quite late on it. I think I was about 17. So it wasn't from when I was young. But oh my God, ever since then I've had so many issues. I've been on like 3 different pills, other like, what's the thing, mini pills, injection. Like it's such a massive topic that we need to talk about, because not just the pill is right for everyone. It's so specific to each and every person. It's wild.
So I feel like it's literally a 5-minute job. You go in there, you say you're looking for some sort of contraception, they give you the pill straight away and you're out, and they say come back in 3 months. You have no idea what you're taking, what it's doing. And I think you think whatever's going on sometimes it's normal and to be expected, when really if they have a good chat with you, give you an idea of your options, said come back to me in a couple of weeks, I think it's such a better idea.
And just taking the time, like imagine if we were actually, because there's so much out there, like I know people that have been on like Lizzie says, the injection, but I didn't really know about that until like a year or so ago. Like there's so much out there that we don't know about that could obviously suit people better, but I think it is very poor how the doctors just dish out like the cheapest thing for them to give girls. And I don't want to get into a whole other topic, but it infuriates me that there's not anything for boys. Like, it really, really... And I know it's a whole scientific whatever, but I really think that the fact that there's no money or limited money going into research to boys' contraception is just a big topic that I don't know if we've got time to get into, but...
I wonder, would boys even take it though? I feel like if they had the same symptoms that we'd get with it, would they take it? They'd be like, oh yeah, I'm on it. You're all
Maybe
good.
another time.
That's what they'd say. Or they wouldn't take it because of the symptoms.
I wouldn't trust them.
You're so right. If they experienced what we do on it, I just think the fact that it, like, I think the pill came about like in the 90s. Like, I'm not really sure. That was a real guess. But it's like a very recent thing, and the fact that it's like, okay, we need a contraception that's not like a condom, it's not like a physical thing, let's make a pill for women.
Yeah.
Why did they choose women? Like, I don't know.
Because it's a men run world.
And also, if say if like they just made a contraceptive pill for men now and like it came out next week, they wouldn't take it because they'd be like, but that's the girl's job sort of thing, because that's how we've been brought up. Say if like it was made in recent years and like boys grew up with it, but like if it was now, they'd be like, that's not for us. Like, why are we doing that?
I do think it's very instilled into society that if an accidental pregnancy happens, it's our fault because, you know, we should have been on contraception or should have taken it properly or blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah.
always.
Or we should have made him wear a condom. Like,
It's double standards, isn't it?
Oh my God, it actually gets me really...
Shall we delve into some of the questions that we've got?
Yeah, hit me.
Yeah, do you want me to go? So sort of linking to what we were talking about, contraception, one girl has said that she has been on a contraceptive pill and it hasn't worked for her and it's scared her because she's had really bad side effects and she's scared to try other options and doesn't think there's anything else out there that could work for her. So I didn't know if you had any advice for someone worried.
Can I just say, like, a disclaimer? Obviously, it's all just advice. So if you've got anything that you want to do, obviously speak to your doctor first. Obviously, we don't know everything about her, so just light-hearted advice. I'd probably say first, yeah, there's so many other options for her, really. So it's worth going and chatting to the doctor or sexual health nurse. It depends what really affected her. If it was kind of the pill and it was the hormonal changes, there are kind of like non-hormonal contraceptives, so like the copper coil. So there's different things to try, condoms, spermicide gel. So there is, loads of options. What I'd say is next time she goes on something, there's apps like, I think, like Clue and Flow, where you can monitor all your symptoms every day. So kind of your bleeding, your spotting, your mood, your sex drive, how your skin is, all of those things. So she can kind of early on notice if there's any changes. So then if she does have issues again, she can kind of go back to the doctor and say, actually, my mood's been low for X amount of days or stuff like that. But it is very much trial and error, which is a shame, but it's the only way, really. So yeah, definitely a lot more options out there for her.
I just don't think anyone should be worried about trying different forms of contraceptive because, like I said before, everybody's so different. I remember when I went on the pill for the first time, which is just the standard, that pink one that they put you on, pink packet one. We all know her. We all hate her. That gave me awful side effects. Like, it's true. She's so mean, that one. It just gave me awful side effects. I had dead bad period pain on it, dead heavy period, even though, like, in stereotypical terms, if you get on the pill, it makes your period lighter. Not always. It definitely doesn't always. So it really is, like Tiffany said, it's trial and error. Like, just because you've had one bad experience, it doesn't mean that everything is going to give you a bad experience, because the pill I'm on now, like, I really like it. I get on with it and everything's fine. So just try everything.
I think people get worried with stuff like the implant and the coil that it's permanent, but it's really not. So if you do get those symptoms, we can take it out really quickly for you. It's not the end of the world. And when you take the pill, those hormones build up. So actually coming off the pill is kind of the same kind of length that it will take you to kind of come off having a coil or something like that. So it's nothing to really worry about.
That's interesting, yeah, because I've always been scared of anything permanent like that, like, because I always thought because they can last for like 5 years or so, can't they, the implant?
Yeah, they can. One of them you can have in for about 10 years, so it...
Yeah, see, I always think that, like, oh my God, I have to have it for 10 years, which is a really stupid thing to think.
No.
Yeah.
Is there any ones like that affect fertility, or is that just a myth?
No, so some of them, it depends what you're taking, but some of them take it longer for your fertility to kind of go back to like a normal level. But none of them make you less prone to having babies or...
That's good to know, because that is such a myth,
that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of myths and
Anyone else? Charlotte?
Have you got another question?
Patty? Any experiences?
Oh, on my thing? Okay. Oh, one of mine was, what do you think about, because I saw it on your Instagram again, about period tracking. So I've just recently come off all, like, the pill, contraceptive, anything. Yeah. So I started doing, like, the Clue app and stuff like that. And I noticed on your Instagram that you said, like, oh, it's important to do it. And I was just going to wonder if you could give us a bit more information about what you think about period tracking.
I'm obsessed. I think it's so good. Like the Clue app, it's free as well. I feel like people think I'm trying to always plug it, but it's free. I'm not getting anything out of it.
It's really good. I've done it.
It's so good because I think you get to know your bodies better as well. So for example, me, the week before I'm due on, I'm so bloated, my skin's awful. And I always used to think, like, God, what am I doing that's making my skin so bad? And I kind of beat myself up a bit about it. And it was only before I started to track, I was actually like, do you know what, this is hormonal. There's nothing really that I'm doing that's making it. So I think if we know our bodies better, again, like if you've got any issues, you can go to the doctor about it a bit more. You can spot issues earlier on as well. So yeah, like things like bleeding, irregular bleeding, irregular discharge, stuff like that, you'll notice it a lot more, and actually you can see how often it's been going on for as well, which is another good thing. Because, you know, when you go to the doctors and they ask, oh, how long, or when was your last period, how long does it last for, you never really know off the top of your head, do you? So it's quite good to, just pop open the app and you can have a look.
Yeah, I used to use that app religiously, like before I went on the pill, and it literally, because I felt like my periods were really irregular, but it made me realise they were actually really regular, so I could literally know when it was coming each month and how long it would be. And like I realised I didn't get cramps that bad towards the end of it, but at the beginning I did, and like just things like that. So then you can even like prepare what you're doing around it and things like that, so you know, like, oh, that day I usually feel a bit like I've got PMS that day, so I don't want to, like, kind of thing.
And I remember, because I'd been on the pill since I was, like, quite young, I remember telling you this, Meg, I was actually scared to come off it, because I was like, but I don't know when it's going to strike, like, I don't know when it's going to happen. I've always known exactly what's happening when, so I was really worried. And it was literally the first time I used it, I was thinking it might take a bit of while to get in the rhythm of things, but the first time I used it, it literally was bang on the day, which I know it isn't all the time, but I was like really worried. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen to my body, and it literally, it's really good. Like, I didn't think it'd be that good, but tracking is good.
I really enjoyed doing that.
So many people messaged me and were like, well, my periods are really irregular, so the app doesn't work. But actually, I said to him, well, it's actually quite good because you track all your symptoms as well. Even though your period might be irregular, you might see what symptoms show you that you're about to come on. True. As well, which is quite a good thing. She'll never kind of caught without a tampon or something on you as well. It's a really good app.
I just had one more question on my little pad. I don't know, just to get to my last one. But mine was just like your opinions on, because I don't even still really know all the ins and outs of it, but like cleaning, like, is it necessary? Do we actually need to do it? Are some products better than others? Like, I feel like you go into Boots and there's loads of like feminine hygiene products, but that's all I know. Like, do we need them? Like, what do they do? You know, stuff like that.
Do you know what really annoys me is that there's so many, like you said, you go into Boots, there's so much on feminine hygiene, nothing on male hygiene, is there at all? Nothing to clean your willies or anything out there, and it's just so ridiculous. I'm just like, how is that out there? And then
that's literally disgusting as well.
It's just the most like ridiculous thing. But so your vagina itself is self-cleansing, so you don't actually need to do anything. So your vagina produces like a lubricant, which is your discharge, and that helps to clean it all out. And in your discharge, you've got different kind of bacteria, which are like your good bacteria, and that is it almost produces like a lactic acid, and that keeps, sorry, I'm getting really complex, it keeps like the pH of your vagina at a nice normal kind of acidic level. So if anything does go that you get any foreign bacteria, it will kind of kill it off. So discharge, all of that is really good. When you start using kind of like intimate soaps and like douches and putting things up there, that will affect and try and get rid of that discharge and affect that pH. So actually, you're causing more harm than good, because you're kind of killing all that good bacteria.
So you're better off having nothing.
So there's nothing you really need to do. So the vagina itself is self-cleaning. Nothing, just warm, lukewarm water. If you really wanted to kind of clean, like around like the labia or like around your groin and stuff like that, just use like an unscented soap. But there's nothing you need to use. I think there's like sprays out there, like deodorants, but for like down below. You don't need it, and if you
they scare.
No, if you feel like you need
me.
it because it's
my
like foul
God.
smelling down below, that's when you need to go to a doctor, because that's not normal. You need to like have a check, really.
Yeah, because there's a whole section of boots that makes you think, oh, I should be buying that stuff because I've got a vagina and that's what it's for. But it's like, yeah, but I didn't even know. So yeah, you've literally taught me stuff I didn't know.
Even like the stigma around like genitals smelling, and like, do you know what I mean? Like people always say like vaginas smell, like penises smell, but they like obviously don't smell nice. But I think because everyone has this thing, like we need to make down there smell nice, like
flowers.
It's made us all think that we
honestly, it's never gonna smell that nice, is it?
Exactly, that's what I mean.
But I think when they make products like feminine deodorant and wipes and things like that, it makes you think, especially as a young girl, oh my God, like it should be like normal, like armpit deodorant, like you should always smell nice, you shouldn't be bad. And then you kind of get a bit self-conscious, and a whole other issue
and
there.
the whole thing again, there's not the equivalent for men. You'd never find
it's so bad.
Never even thought
men
of that.
just have got deodorant, whatever, blah blah blah. There's no soap for their penis, nothing. And that is like that's inequality, because these big companies that are making these products are thinking, okay, let's target women because they're going to be more insecure and they're going to buy our products because
they want their vagina to smell nice. They need it, sort of thing. So.
Whereas
all men have a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner and deodorant. That's it. 2 products. That's all they
whole
need.
body.
3-in-1.
Compared to the stuff we've got going on.
5-in-1.
5-in-1.
Face soap, dick soap.
Does it all.
But yeah, like again, that just makes me angry that we're like, it feels like women are like targeted. We are, like they target us thinking that we're like gonna
vulnerable.
And like we are, because I've bought stuff like that before. I cannot, like I've bought like Femme Fresh before because I've been like, I'm gonna try this out, see if it.
And I thought it helped
is
until
good.
literally this
And
moment when I realised you don't
really
need anything. So
No, you don't need anything. It's a marketing ploy.
Is using feminine hygiene products like Femme Fresh, is that linked to thrush?
It can do.
Like, can it cause thrush?
Yeah, so essentially, you're getting rid of that kind of good bacteria, and you're trying to like clear out all that discharge in there as well. So your vagina become quite dry.
Yeah.
If it's dry, you're more prone to kind of getting bad bacteria growing there. So you're almost cleaning out all the good stuff that prevents thrush.
is there a reason?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is just like just asking questions, like, but is there a reason like
No, go
I mean
for
I
it.
know it's like around ovulation and stuff, but like when you have more discharge than like other days, like is that just again like maybe you're fighting off thrush or something? But is there another reason for it? Do you know what I
So
mean?
your discharge changes throughout the month. So you'll kind of find when you're ovulating, your discharge will be almost a little bit thicker and almost kind of stringy, or a little bit stretchy almost.
Viscous.
So it's all to, that's the word. So it's all to do with like the changes in your hormones and how it will go up and down. And like your discharge is quite a good sign that your body's working in good working order. So if it ever kind of starts to change colour, or it gets bloody, or it smells quite bad, it's a sign that something might not be working as it should be down below, and to go get a checkup.
So it's good. That's what we
well.
learned.
I was going to ask about the process of being tested for an STI, because I actually would have no idea like about that whole process, if I'm honest. Like, how would people know whether to go, or like what it involves?
So it really depends. It's all a bit postcode lottery, unfortunately. I know when I was at uni, they did like ones that they'd post to you through the door, so you could do like a little swab, and then there was one where you could like bleed through your finger as well. Some places don't do that. You've just got to go to a clinic. It all depends. So what you'll do, you'll go in and have a chat with someone, and they'll ask you a lot of questions. So the types of sex that you're having, was it unprotected? Are you just going for just a normal checkup, or have you got concerns? If you've got actual concerns, so for example, vaginal bleeding, or it's quite itchy down below or something like that, or you've got sores, then they'll do an internal examination if you let them. So that's when they'll have a look. They'll look at your cervix, because it might not be an STI that's causing it. It could be lots of other things as well. So they'll have a look. Then they'll offer you a swab. So generally the swab will test for chlamydia and gonorrhea. And then they'll also offer you a blood test. So depending on what you've answered to your questions, they can test for kind of stuff like HIV and syphilis. But it all depends, on what your symptoms are and what you're going in for. They won't. So a lot of people think when they've gone for an STI test, they've tested for everything under the sun. Quite often, it's normally your chlamydia, gonorrhea that they just test for. So it's worth asking the ladies when they test you what they're actually looking for. But generally for girls, it's a swab, blood test like normal, and then they might need to do an internal.
Do you think it's important to still go and get a checkup even if you're not, if you don't think you've got any symptoms or anything like that, especially if you're sleeping with like different people?
Yeah, always. So they say that you should, between every sexual partner, you should go and get tested. But obviously if you're sleeping with lots of people regularly, then you'll be there all the time, wouldn't you? So they say if not go every 3 months, and that's when you should go, and you should keep track of who you are sleeping with. So if there is anything you get diagnosed with, they can then drop them a message as well to get checked out. But it's not anything gross. They should,
Personally, I've never been to a clinic for a checkup, which is probably not. It's not a bad thing because I've had a boyfriend for like 3 years, so like I know everything's fine. But I feel like sometimes they do. What's the word? They make it a bit of a novelty to get tested, because you girls all know from Quack at Lincoln, you only get them flashing bunny ears if you go and do yourself a test in the toilet on a night out.
Oh, so they do it. Do they do it at your uni? So I wish my uni did this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good that they do it.
I didn't know that.
I really wanted a pair of these flashing bunny ears. I was like, get those on my head now. So I went up to the desk and I picked them up off the desk, and she was like, excuse me, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, how much are they? Like, do I need to pay for them? She was like, no, you need to do an STI test.
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
Off I go.
Okay.
That's good, because then you look around, everyone that's wearing them, you know, has gone and got a test, and it's all good. Like...
Do you know what? They need to do this at every single club, every single night, don't they? That's such a good idea.
It's a good way to get people to do it.
Yeah, true.
Yes, do it, yeah. It gets rid of the stigma, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, it does get rid of the stigma, because at the end of the day, like,
And
it's not, I do think it's stigmatised. People are so like, oh, STI test. But like, if you've put yourself in a situation where you need one, it shouldn't be like a problem.
yeah, and because people are like a bit drunk, they're like, yeah, let's just fucking do it. And then like, yeah, that is so.
Can I just ask, were there men wearing bunny ears as well in Quack?
Do you know what? I'm not sure. I don't know. I do you know what? I was drunk, so I can't remember. But I'm sure there was a man and a woman there, so I'm guessing it was for both. I don't know.
Maybe they had an alternative,
Possibly.
like bunny
I'm not
ears
sure.
for girls.
Couldn't tell you.
I think there's a lot of a stigma around also, like if you do get something, an STI, it's all like, oh, she slept with everyone, and all it takes is just one person. You could be sleeping with one person forever, and all you need is for them to have slept with someone else before you and not been tested. And you can get, so it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're dirty. It doesn't mean you don't clean down below. No, it literally is just you're a little bit unfortunate, and you did the right thing by going to get checked out, and that's what we're there for.
And also, obviously, the sooner you go and get tested, like, the less negative the effects may be. Because obviously, if you leave them for a long time, like, can't some be quite damaging for your health, I believe?
Yeah, so quite a lot of them. So stuff like chlamydia, I think it's either 70 or 80% of women have no symptoms at all. So you'd literally could probably have it and have no symptoms. But if it's left too long, it can give you things like pelvic inflammatory disease, which can then in the future mean that you're less likely to have babies as well. But it's very, very uncommon, so don't worry if you get tested positive for chlamydia. But sooner rather than later, it's better to treat it. And because it's just antibiotics you need as well, it's nothing invasive, just like a week, 10 days of it.
Also, like, I know this isn't true, but I mean, I've never had to go to sexual health clinic, but I would also feel this, like, girls feel judged almost going in by the staff there, even though, you know, we know that's not true, but I would feel it too. I reckon if I had to go, I'd walk in and be like, oh God, they were looking at me. Like, they will know why I'm here. But that needs to obviously end as well. But I know people can't help but feel that, but obviously it's not true.
What I'd say is, I don't know, from my experience, it always seems to be like an old nurse there, doesn't it? And it's always a bit like, oh God, okay, she's judging. But from being on the other end and talking to people and treating people, honestly, we hear like every single story under the sun. Like, nothing's new to us. We're not judging. We don't go out and gossip to all our colleagues or friends about it. So just think, like, they see like honestly like patients every 15 minutes. If you're working like a 9 till 5 day, they're not going to remember you. They're not going to see you out in Asda and think, oh, that's that girl that did this.
Same with the doctors as well. People don't go because of that reason. But they don't really care.
No,
like, you've seen everything.
I'm assuming chances are you've seen a million people that have had the exact same problem, so it literally doesn't faze you either.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, there's another person who's had this or had that.
Yeah, and I think you relate with people and you start to understand a little bit more what people are going through because you see a lot of it. So, for example, when people have found out that maybe their partners haven't been particularly good to them and stayed just with them, or they've cheated and stuff like that, you know what everyone's going through a little bit more, and you feel like you can empathise. And actually, in a way, it's quite nice to be with someone during that job and to go and actually reassure them that actually it's normal, it's common, and there's a lot we can do.
I've got a few more questions that we had, if that's okay. So we've had
Go on.
Oh, we had a vagina wash question as well, so we've covered that already. We've got is the pill running out an emergency during self-isolation? That's what someone's asked.
It depends what they count it. So you don't need to kind of go call 111 or something like that. You'll generally, if you're on it, you should notice that yours is starting to run out. So don't leave it to the last minute. You should be able to contact your GP or the pharmacist. And what they're generally doing at the moment, especially where I'm in Kent, is that they'll give you a telephone call, check that everything's okay. If you're managing fine with it, no symptoms, then they can then send a repeat prescription to a pharmacy near you. And I think they're doing 2 months at the moment just to carry you over. And then the idea is hopefully lockdown will be done by then, and then you can then have your appointment afterwards. If you can't get hold of anyone... Go on. Oh, sorry. That's all right. I was going to say, if you can't get hold of anyone or you're really struggling, I've heard like stories of people borrowing different types of pills off their friends that they no longer want, and don't do that. Either, if you're really worried about getting pregnant, don't have sex, use condoms. In the meantime as well, don't start using other people's pills or old pills that you had.
I was going to say, I kind of panicked because I was, people listening might be in a similar situation, because I was registered at my doctor's in Lincoln, and then obviously I had to come home and I was running out of my pill, and I was thinking, shit, I don't know what to do. But it was actually so easy. I just had to ring up the doctor's in Lincoln, and then I had literally like a 10-minute phone call just to say everything was fine, I just needed more. And then they sent the prescription to my pharmacy just down the road, and then I got it. Like, it was really good. So I'd say, it's not an emergency as such, but it's easily sorted out, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just keep on it. So if you know that you're running out in a week, give them a call now, because I think it's quite hard to get through to all of them at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should be fine.
Yeah. We've got a question about lube. So do you know any lube that helps increase sensitivity and orgasms, someone has said. So I don't really know much about lube in itself, like, considering I'm 21 years old. I feel like I should probably know more, but have you got any advice?
I feel like lube gets a really bad stigma. I feel like everyone thinks of it about like dry, like menopausal vaginas, or the fact that I feel like for a guy, they think if somebody's not like wet below, that they're not doing their job or it's not working well, when actually, like, in terms of arousal, it takes women a lot longer to reach that level than it would for a man. There's not really any I'd recommend. I'd say stick to water-based if you're using condoms, because that can cause it to split. But you can get all different ones. You can get like ones that like tingle, heat, things like that. The idea of the heat one is that, I know, it doesn't particularly appeal to me. It sounds like something I wouldn't want, but the idea of that one is that if it increases heat, it increases blood flow down below, and if it increases blood flow, you're more likely to reach the O. But equally, just like if you're sexually aroused, it will increase blood flow straight away anyway, so it won't really do the job. But I think if they're looking at it just purely to kind of have a better sexual experience, it's not just about kind of what you use. So like your whole body is an erogenous zone, so think about kind of other parts of your body as well. I think you need to kind of have your mind in a good space. So I think if you're using something that's got like a tingle sensation or something like that, it might actually kind of take you out of the moment a bit, and I don't know, impact that. So play about a bit. It's definitely worth it. So generally for a guy, it can help to increase kind of the the rhythm a little bit more, which might help you reach orgasm a bit quicker. Give it a go. Stick to water-based, and a bit of trial and error, really. Nothing's going to work miracles, though. I think if you're looking for like a miracle lube, we've not got one, I'm afraid.
It doesn't exist.
No. Yeah.
What else? And then we've got a question, sort of moving on to like pregnancy and stuff. I think people were talking about pelvic floor and how to like increase or like make your pelvic floor better. That's how they worded it. But I mean, like, I guess they meant like stronger or like,
all right,
you know.
Okay.
I don't know if you had any advice.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, I literally half of my job is pelvic floor. So, do you guys do your pelvic floors?
Do you know what? I've got absolutely no idea what it is. I don't know what it is.
Really?
I know what it is and I don't do it, which is bad.
Shall I go for it? So, your pelvic floor, this is what I tell patients. So, your pelvic floor is a bit like a hammock. So, it starts on your pubic bone at the front, which is that bony bone, on top of like your vagina. And it goes all the way underneath and it inserts to like your tailbone at the back. And it's, if you imagine like a hammock holding it up, and it supports kind of all your organs. So, it supports like your bladder, your bowel, your uterus, everything. So, it works really hard at holding it all up. So like, you know when you need to go for a wee but there's no toilet there and you're holding it in, that's your pelvic floor working really hard. And then when you do need to go for a wee, that pelvic floor relaxes down. And it's really good for like when you, it's really important. So like when you're pregnant,
but the idea that it is holding up all of my organs really freaks me out.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It's really important.
I thought it'd just stop you from pissing yourself. I didn't know any of the other stuff.
Obviously you've got like bones and other like muscles there as well, but your pelvic floor takes up all that slack. So especially when you're pregnant and you're carrying baby, you think about all that pressure, like how big a baby bump is. That's your pelvic floor like working so hard. But everyone should do their pelvic floors. So it kind of stops stuff. So if your pelvic floor's not working as it should be, you'll get things like urine leakage. You might get some bowel leakage as well. So a bit of accidents going on there. Things like coughing, sneezing, laughing. You might get a bit of
I'm literally like, yep, that's me.
What? So it's, and what I always say to people, like, especially because I think a lot of like girls like and my friends are like, oh, but like that's normal, it happens to us all. And I'd say like it's common, but it's not normal for that to happen. So it's a sign that it's a little bit weak and we can work on it. But it's really good, especially good for like when babies are born. So the bit where you're like the baby's head starts to turn and come out the vagina, it's really good at contracting then and bringing it round. It's super important. And it's also good for men. So people don't realise men have pelvic floors as well.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So quite often, going into a whole different story, but like your pelvic floor, when it contracts and releases, it encourages blood to the penis. So quite often if I have men who have had like erectile dysfunctions, it's because their pelvic floor isn't contracting and releasing as it should be. So I get a lot of like gym boys with that because their pelvic floor, when they're like doing a lot of heavy lifting, it's so used to being really tight and strong that it can't relax. So it affects young people as well.
I literally had no idea men had pelvic floor as well.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of men realise either. But
so what are we meant to do to like improve it? Is it exercises
so
that we do?
If you look online, people will show you all like random, like Pilates type exercises and stuff like that. But so your pelvic floor works in conjunction with your tummy muscles, so your ab muscles, and then your glutes, so your bottom muscles. If one of those are weak, it will put more pressure on the others. So for example, if you've got like a weak core, it will put more pressure on your pelvic floor. To work your pelvic floor, the main way I tell people is you're going from the back to the front. So imagine you're pulling up from your bottom like you're trying to stop a fart. That's what I'd say. And then right up to the vagina like you're trying to stop wee mid-flow. So like when you're going for a wee, you can kind of stop it.
Yeah.
So you're doing them both at the same time, but going from the back right up to the front. Or I say to people, are you trying to do it? Or I say to people a bit like, imagine you've got a zip at the back of your trousers and I'm pulling it all the way right up to the vagina.
Yeah.
That kind of.
I always thought it was just to do with the front, like it was because it was all about.
No,
wee. I thought it was all about like just if you were holding wee in. That's what I've been told before. Not anything to do with the back.
No, so more of the muscle you contract when you actually do the back passage. So you like your bottom hole. So it's actually better to do it. Back to front.
I've honestly learnt so much in this last hour.
Yeah, and then for men it's the same, but it's instead of like you're trying to stop wee mid-flow, it's like you're trying to draw your balls up.
Oh.
Yeah, that's weird. I can't imagine.
Like.
I was going to ask what do they actually do instead, but I didn't
Whenever I say it, they know what I mean. No. Whenever I say it, they know what I mean. So, or like they've walked into like a cold bathtub or cold shower. Yeah. And then what we should be doing, so for kind of like girls our age with no kind of pelvic floor issues, you should still be doing them 3 times a day. You want to do, they're all, like, and it's good because you can do them literally in whatever position. So you can literally do it while you're like sitting on the computer or whatever. But you want to do 10 long holds. So you're pulling up and you're holding it for 10 seconds and then relaxing back down. And quite often a lot of people will find that when they get to like, you're counting up to 10, by number 5, 6, you'll feel that you've not got that contraction as good as it was at the start.
Sure.
So it shows that it's just a little bit weak and we need to get it a bit stronger. And then
I'm going to, because it is,
no, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, is it true that like, so if we kept doing that every day 3 times a day and then in 10 years I have a baby, after you have the baby, does it help everything heal better? Because I heard that it's like the stronger the muscle, the better you heal.
So you do your 10 long holds and then you do your 10 twitches. So that's just like a squeeze, release, like pulsing. And we always say to women, once they've had their pelvic floor, if it's strong to begin with, then after baby it will be stronger than somebody who didn't. So if your baseline's better. Once you've also had a baby, so if it's a vaginal delivery, doing your pelvic floors will encourage blood to the area, so that will help with all the healing down below as well. And then if you've had a cesarean, obviously they go through kind of your abdominal muscles and your tummy, which will then put more pressure on that pelvic floor. So again, it's good to be doing, if you think you're going to be doing lots of heavy lifting baby as it gets bigger and bigger, it's really good to keep that pelvic floor.
So I didn't know it was that important. I'm going to be doing them now every day.
There's an app and it's called Squeezy. It's an NHS one. And I think there's a free version on the App Store, and it literally will like send you reminders. It will talk you through it.
I'm gonna get that.
And it's made by Women's Health Physios, so download it. It's quite good.
And like, no one's told me that. No one's told me any of that. I don't know.
Easy to do,
like, how was I meant to know?
That's good.
It's not like,
a lot of people think, a lot of people think they should be like sucking in their tummy muscles or like squeezing their bottom together. Don't. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. It should be like really internal. It's a tiny little movement. People say almost like you're picking up a feather or something like that. It's a really small movement.
I'm sure I've seen some of these, but like
delicate.
Can't people like buy stuff that like help you do pelvic floor exercise? And I've never understood that, what they are, if they're necessary anyway.
I'd say if anyone's ever going to buy anything, go to like a women's health physio and get assessed. So normally if I see a woman, I'll do an internal assessment. So what you do is you can even test yourself at home. So we pop our finger into their vagina and we get them to do a contraction of their pelvic floor. We'll see how long they can hold it for and how strong it is. If it's got like a pretty good strength, then we'll just send them home with like pelvic floor exercises and advice. If it's not strong enough and it's not contracting, we have stuff that we called E-stim. So have you seen like the slender tone belts for your tummy that kind of give you abs? And it's a bit like that, but for your pelvic floor. So it comes with, I wish I had one to show you, but it comes with like an applicator, a bit like a tampon that you put in the vagina, and it connects to a remote control, and it causes the pelvic floor to contract by itself just to help build muscle. And then for like women who are struggling to kind of contract their pelvic floor and know what they're doing, we've got visual ones, so you can pop it in the vagina. And then do you remember Flappy Bird?
Yeah.
It's a bit like that. So when they contract their muscle, the bird will move up and then back down, so they can like see that they're doing something as well. So lots of stuff like that. Yeah, and then people can buy like have you seen like the balls you can buy online? Like pelvic weights and something called an LV.
So interesting.
Generally, if you've got no issues, you don't need an LV or anything like that. Just do your pelvic floors. I don't really agree with like the weights that you can pop in your vagina, because if it's strong enough, your body, all your vagina's ever going to be supporting is your own body and your own organs. So there's no need to start putting a weight through it and things like that. Just do your pelvic floors.
I was gonna say,
I'm not a big fan of it.
Has anybody seen that dead dramatic thing that was on this morning when this woman was literally like swinging a tin of beans
that
from a foof?
Oh.
I was like, that is just not real.
I do not know why they're like, obviously it's mad, but I feel like it's like pretty bad health for them to like publicise that on this morning.
Why did you need to do that? Why does it need to be that strong?
Well, the other issue is your pelvic floor can be almost too strong, so we call it hypertonic. So if it's weak, you'll get stuff like urine leakage. But if it's too strong, if you think it attaches to your pubic bone at the front and your tailbone at the back, if it's too strong, so imagine, when you get like a tight muscle in like your leg or something, it will pull on those bones, and you can actually get like really bad back pain and have issues like going for a poo and things like that. So but
so don't swing any tins of beans.
Don't be doing that.
That is bad though, because you would watch that and think, fucking hell, I couldn't do that, and then think something's wrong with you.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover quickly before we sign off? Like anything you wanted to say?
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
No, I think that's it. I think, just make sure you're educated about the decisions you make. And start talking to people a bit more about kind of pelvic health and what you're doing. And I think if we talk about it more, we can get down on that taboo a little bit more as well. And then hopefully for like future generations, it's not as big of a deal as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Can I just ask one more quick question? Sorry, before we go, be quick. But would you recommend girls going and getting checked out?
Yeah.
Just if they've got no issues, like, is it healthy to go to doctors and just ask for like, just see if everything's okay?
I'd say more go to like a sexual health clinic. If you've got any concerns, generally doctors won't do an internal if you've not got any concerns or there's no issues. But I'd say generally go to like a sexual health clinic, get checked out every kind of 3 months, even if you've got no symptoms. They can always provide you with advice as well.
I've learnt so much.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. We should do it again.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I could keep going, keep asking all the questions.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it,
No,
it's actually been so interesting.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed myself.
Yeah, hopefully it's interesting to listen, and if anyone's got any questions about things like this, like head over to Tiffany's Instagram. We'll put like the link in like the description of the episode and things like that, because it's really really informative. Yeah,
definitely. And your Instagram is amazing, so thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love what you guys are doing, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll do it again. We'll have you on again.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love it.
Woo, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah,
See you later.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.